Hey guys, it's Shay. I am going to break down triangle pose with you guys today, and I chose this pose because this is the one I see most often incorrectly done, and I want you guys to get the most benefit out of it as you possibly can. So we're going to go through step by step and talk about how to do triangle pose correctly. So starting with your feet wide, probably 3 or 4 feet apart, kind of depends on how tall you are. But you want to make sure that they are pretty wide here. I see a lot of people with way too short of a stance, and then you're going to have a really hard time getting into proper form. So make sure the feet are nice and wide here, 3 to 4 feet apart or so. Bringing the arms out to the sides, and then just relax the shoulders down the back. Make sure they're away from the ears here. Make sure you're not collapsing forward. Just kind of rolling them down the back here so the chest is nice and open. And then turning the toes on your right foot toward the end of your mat here. Left foot can stay right where it is. The toes can stay pointed forward, or if you'd like, you can press the heel back a little bit further, just kind of whatever you prefer here, wherever you feel more stable and balanced. Good. And then you start reaching out through the fingers on the right hand. As you start reaching out through the fingers on the right hand, you press the hip over out toward that left hand. So you're kind of like you're shutting a car door with the hip, kind of. I had an instructor tell me that one time, where you just kind of push the hip out like if you were shutting the door. I thought that was a pretty good visual for me. So as you reach out through the right hand, pressing out through that left hip here. And once you're about as far as you're going to go here, then you start dropping the right hand down toward the right leg and bringing the left arm up over the shoulder. Keeping the chest nice and open here. So you want the shoulders stacked here. You want the collarbone stacked here. You want the hip stacked over the hip here. So you're nice and open. But if you feel like you can get a little bit further here without collapsing, you can bring the fingers all the way down to the floor. And the hand can rest on either side of the foot here. It's just personal preference, inside or outside. Good. Or another option is to use a block. Kendall, can you hand me that block? Use a block underneath the right hand in order to keep the chest nice and open. And you can use the block in any position that you'd like. So you might be pretty open and need it in the lowest position. You might be able, or you might want to use it a little bit higher. You might want to use it all the way up. If you have a couple blocks, you can stack them, whatever works for you here. But the most important thing here is that the chest is nice and open. Shoulders are stacked. Because what I see a lot is people start collapsing forward. I see a lot of this, and this is not triangle pose. This is something completely different because the chest is collapsed and you're no longer getting that stretch through the body that you want to get here. So let's go through it again. Starting with the feet nice and wide, turning the right toes toward the end of the mat. Good. Left foot can stay toes pointed forward, or the heel can press back a little bit, arms straight out from the shoulders. That right heel, that front heel here is going to be in line with the center of that back foot, with the arch of that back foot. So start reaching out through that right hand as you press that left hip back. Good. And then hinging forward, keeping the chest nice and open. Resting the hand wherever you're comfortable here, on the leg, on the block, only on the floor if the chest stays nice and open, if the hips stay open here. Good. And the gaze can be down, the gaze can be forward, or the gaze can be up, wherever you're most comfortable. If it feels good to have that twist in the neck, you can look up. Otherwise, forward or down is fine. If you don't feel really balanced here, keep the gaze down. And then to come out of it, you can make your way back up. Another tip, so that you don't hyperextend that front knee, because as we're pushing forward, there can be a tendency to kind of push back into the knee. Pull up through that right thigh to keep the leg engaged nice and strong, and then pulling up through the thigh will help protect that knee here. Good. So let's do it on the other side here one more time. So turning the left toes toward the end of the mat, arms straight out from the shoulders. Good. Reaching out through the fingers on that left hand, press the right hip over to the right. And then dropping the left hand down, bringing the right arm up over the shoulder. Keeping the chest open, don't collapse forward. Good. And then when you're ready to come up, pulling up through that left thigh and making your way back up. Or you can move into pyramid from here, however you want to get out of it. But that is triangle pose. The thing I see the most often is that collapsing through the chest. As you're coming forward, you're collapsing. Don't try to touch the floor if your body is not ready to touch the floor. So if you start collapsing here, don't touch the floor. Use your block here, use your leg. Because this is actually triangle pose. Even if the hand is not on the floor, this is not triangle pose. The hand is on the floor, but you're completely collapsed. So making sure you stay nice and open here. Triangle pose is, it strengthens and stretches the stomach, the spine, the hips, and the legs. It's a very good pose. When I was in yoga training, my instructor trained with Iyengar, who is a big name in yoga. He's one of the kind of foundational people in yoga, and he told her that you're not a master of any of the poses unless you can hold them for 10 minutes. So we all had to choose a pose that we were going to hold for 10 minutes. And I chose triangle pose because I thought that would be a pretty easy pose to hold for 10 minutes. It was not. I felt sore for 2 to 3 days afterwards. So definitely it is doing a lot for the body. So if you have any questions about triangle pose, you can leave a comment here or PM me, or whenever we see each other again, just ask me. But yeah, that's the basics of triangle. Thank you for watching.